God a thank you note. The first reason why we should choose to be thankful is because He's a great God. Can you say that with me? He's a great God. One of the greatest insights the Lord revealed to me about praise is actually contained inside of Psalms 150 and 2. Many years ago, while I was reading this verse, the Lord spoke to my heart and basically said, Jamel, don't just praise me based on how you feel, but praise me based on who I am. If anybody had to choose to praise, it was the man that was after God's own heart, David, that spoke several times about offering God a sacrifice of praise. You got to offer a sacrifice of praise when you're not loved in your own home. You have to offer a sacrifice of praise when your best friend daddy is trying to kill you. You got to offer a sacrifice of praise when the child that you gave birth to is so gullible and so cuckoo that he partners with who used to be your best friend to try to overthrow you and take you out of your own spot. But this is probably what made God say that David, this man with flaws and all, was still after his own heart, because no matter how bad the situation was, he remembered how great thou art. Yeah, I remember that song, How Great Thou Art. He remembered and he offered a sacrifice of praise. And when you have to sacrifice, that means that you don't have an excess of something. It's not a whole bunch of it laying around somewhere, but you ain't gonna stop until you find it some way, somehow, and give it away. But the only way that you're able to do this is by keeping Psalms 150 and 2 front and center, when David himself said, praise him for his mighty acts. Praise him according to the abundance of his greatness. You got to remember his mighty acts when you're making your choice. You got to remember the abundance of his greatness when you're making your choice. Because if we lean toward our feelings when things aren't great, you'll feel like he ain't great. I got to say that again. When you lean toward your feelings when things aren't great, you'll feel like God ain't great. If we go by our feelings, oftentimes you won't ever feel like praising God. But when David said, praise him according to the abundance of his greatness, we begin to understand that praise has nothing to do with how you feel, but on who God is and just how great he is. Since God is always great, he always deserves a great praise. Let me say that again. Since God is always great, he always deserves a great praise.